after the very first edition of Eleventies in 2020, I immediately start to plan 2021. And the very first speaker I reached out to is, in fact, our next guest. She had been a very early adopter of Eleventy, had been sharing resources, and in fact, creating her own. So it was only right that I reached out to her and invited her along. So here to talk about creating collections in Eleventy is Stephanie Eckles. Enjoy.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. I really hope you're enjoying the Eleventy so far today. Yes, I am Stephanie Eckles. You may know me as from Twitter and other places as 5T3PH. And I am also the author of Eleventy Rocks and a few other places. Today, we're going to cover creating collections in Eleventy. So not the flashiest presentation, but definitely some pretty practical stuff, good things to know. And learning all the ways to create collections will really provide you architectural freedom in creating whatever you're trying to create with Eleventy. So what are collections? Collections are, to put it very simply, groups of template content. Collections allow you to sort, filter, and perform other manipulations to customize display of your template data. Now, quick vocab check. In Eleventy terms, a template is any content file to be processed or rendered by Eleventy. So for example, if you create a new Markdown file, you've created a new Markdown template, etc. So a keynote is that one piece of content can be part of multiple collections. So let's get into the ways to create these collections. The lowest level way to create our collections is by using the tags construct, and there are 4 syntaxes available. First up is defining just a single tag, or you can do a multi-word tag, or multiple tags in a single line, and finally, multiple tags in multiple lines. So really up to your preference and what your goal is in attaching tags to a template. Now, while the previous examples shown were intended to be placed in a single template's front matter, there is an alternate way. You may create a directory data file, which assigns tags to an entire directory of templates. So for example, given a directory called posts, you can create the file post.json, and the name must match the directory name. So you can see that matching here in the file path. And then you can add a little object in here, a JSON, to attach the tags and assign a post collection. So once you have several templates assigned to a collection, for example, blog posts, you may want to display some of that collection data. And so this example works for both Nunjucks or liquid templates, and it will output the name of each, or rather the title of each item in the post collection, just as one small example. Eleventy provides the following data for each item of content from your collection. So there's more than just that data object that you can access. You can get the input path, which is the full path to the source input file, the file slug, aka the input file name, the output path, or the full path to the output file. So lots of file paths going on that you can access here, as well as the URL, or otherwise known as the permalink for that content. And then the date, and that is going to be the JavaScript date object, the data that we already looked at for pulling the title, and it's going to get you essentially all the front matter attributes. And finally, the template content. So this is the rendered content of this template, meaning that filters have been applied and other transforms, such as converting from Markdown to HTML or whatever other template language you happen to be using. So let's look at some options for creating collections beyond tags. These will all be created within our eleventy.js config file, and they will use the add collection function. This function allows us to create either new or modified collections. And the first way we'll look at, as already noted, is to group several tags together. To create a collection based on multiple tags, you'll use the additional function here of get filtered by tags. You can see I'm creating a collection of both my post and page different tags. So once you have this array in here, right now I'm just returning the results just of combining those two things together. But once you have that array, you can perform additional operations, such as to further filter or sort those items. You can also create a new collection by selecting all templates of a certain file type using the get filtered by Glob function. Now, there are a few stipulations for these collections. You can only get items that are located in your input directory. The exceptions here are you cannot get content out of the includes, which is where you have layouts and partials. And it also will include things that are excluded by the Eleventy exclude from collections, which we'll talk about in a minute. And additionally, it must be a template type supported by Eleventy. So for example, you would not be able to get CSS files clubbed together here. To create a collection based on front matter data, you can use the get all function. And then you can access any front matter by using this construct where within my filter, I'm accessing the front matter from within the data object. So my custom key represents whatever sort of attributes you've added via front matter. And this technique is useful for grouping similar content beyond tags. This is one of the first things I wanted to kind of learn how to do. I liked keeping tags for sort of my larger groups of site content, but occasionally would want to pull a smaller collection, such as maybe featured items with using front matter attributes. You can also access local data and create a collection from that. And so by local data, I mean any of the files where you've grabbed data from external sources maybe, or just created different types of local data within your data directory. And as shown, this is going to use the format of dipping into that get all collection again. We're accessing the first item within there, the 0 indexed item. And then you have essentially access to all data that's in your system, which is, of course, why it's called, local data or global data. And then this custom data would represent the file name of your local data file there. Gets confusing. We're saying data a lot. Important to know also is the special all collection. And this is available by default for all template content. There's no extra definition required to create this. So this is useful for things like sitemaps or RSS feeds, where you do want to get truly all of your site template content. And to access this collection, you simply iterate over that collections.all. Now, instead of creating entirely unique collections, there's an alternate way, which is to filter collections. And so here's some considerations to help you choose which method to use. If you would like to use a filter, those can be useful to apply variants per template, such as randomization, because those are going to be applied at that point in the build process, and they're not going to carry through across template. You have the opportunity to get a different result. And so it's also useful to apply a repeatable modification like sorting. So if you have a particular date-based sorting, and rather than creating entirely unique collections, you can run places where you're outputting that through a filter instead. So for collections then, those are going to be best when you need consistent results per build, because they're created ahead of time and they're going to be the same results for accessing them throughout your templates. Now, sometimes you will want to remove a template from being included in collections. I mentioned this briefly earlier, but the way to do that is by using the Eleventy exclude from collections attribute. This removes that template content from the all collection and any other defined collection. So it's a complete removal of that content. All right, so in summary, let's review the ways we learned how to create collections and why they're useful. Tags are going to let you easily group content in multiple flexible ways by template or directory. You can also glob by file types, and this lets you succinctly group related template content regardless of your file system organization. Front matter data allows you to extend the collection schema beyond tags by grouping content from your own custom meta. And collections from local data offer the benefit of the collection construct outside of pagination. And we also covered the bonus option of filtering collections, which again allows you to mutate existing collections with repeatable operations, as well as allowing for randomization per template if you desire. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us for the Eleventies today. For the notes and code snippets from this presentation, you can find those very shortly. I've just hit publish on Eleventy.rocks as the new post that will be appearing there. And you can certainly find me again on Twitter as 5T3PH, and I'll watch for questions in the chat if you have them. And otherwise, have an awesome possum rest of your day.